I want to bring in now Nationals MP, and what a time to bring him in, former Deputy Prime Minister Barnaby Joyce. Barnaby, great to see you. I love the beanie. We had the Transgrid CEO Brett Redmond today saying that Victorians in Victoria during winter should get ready to have cold showers because we're going to run out of power. Now, who have I heard say that before? A hint that we might run out of power. Would that have been you, Barnaby?
Yes, and it's, you don't have to be Pythagoras, you don't have to be Nostradamus, you just have to be logical. This whole net zero process, this move to intermittent power, it's not renewables, intermittent power is inevitably going to end up in a train crash. And now we actually see the wise sages who were apparently there to guide us through it saying we need a buffer of more coal, we need a buffer of more gas, we need a buffer of all that evil stuff that apparently we're trying to get rid of. And when you think about it, when you think about this absolute swindle, the swindle on the Australian taxpayers, like all swindles, somebody is making a bucket of money, and we have not been asking the hard questions about who's in these capacity investment schemes. How much are they getting returns for? Why are we auctioning power only in 5-minute blocks? Why do people who bid into the stack get paid the highest price, not the price they bid into the stack at? Because at the end of the day, there's a pensioner who can't afford their power bill. And we are getting Australians who are doing it tough and dropping them into destitution for a program, net zero, as idiotic as that is, that hasn't got Buckleys of doing anything, even if you believe every chapter verse of their predictions about what would happen if all the world was participating. Well, they're not participating, including Russia, China, the United States, add in Indonesia, add in Brazil, add in most Southeast Asian countries, add in most of Africa. I mean, this is ludicrous what we are doing to ourselves.
On top of all of that, I mean, how do you feel about having fought a 5-6 week election campaign and then suddenly Jim Chalmers bobs up at the press club yesterday and says, oh, we've got to have a big debate about the taxation system, we've got to talk about GST, we've got to talk about, how we can tax people more. I mean, what a charade that campaign was.
Of course. And now, and he also mentioned that one of the troubles with the budget is the pressure put on by net zero. But I thought this was so cheap. I thought it was going to make us money. But now we find out that we've spent $9,000 million thus far, ladies and gentlemen, on trying to achieve your net zero target and make you colder and poorer. But we also see, and we've seen it now, the most invidious attack on your wealth, and that is they've cracked the superannuation egg. Now, it might be $3 million, but they've started, and they're taxing unrealised gains. So for things that you haven't sold but have increased in value, the government now has made a moral justification for you to send 30% of that increase to Dr. Jim Chalmers. And where are you going to get that money from? You have to borrow it. Now, they might be starting on super, but once you crack the egg, once you've created the precedent, watch out.
On Anthony Albanese, the Prime Minister, I mean, you can understand why Donald Trump left the G7. I mean, he's got bigger issues to deal with than sitting down with Anthony Albanese. And I've got to say, I almost feel sorry for the PM. But should he be now chasing him over at the NATO summit at The Hague? I mean, what happens if Donald Trump doesn't agree to see him there either? I mean, what does that say about the reputation of Australia globally? And what does it say about the strength of our alliance with the Americans?
Well, what does it say? We've got AUKUS. They're reviewing AUKUS. And the idea when the Prime Minister said, oh, well, he was too busy and he couldn't get to me, and everybody understands that. Well, hang on. He did get to the Indian Prime Minister, rang him up. He did get to the Mexican Prime Minister, President, rang them up. So this was not a case that he didn't, after he left, make contact with other people outside the G7. He did. He just didn't contact the Australian Prime Minister. And at this point in time, they're reviewing AUKUS. And if AUKUS falls over, ladies and gentlemen, we are in a world of trouble because they apparently have no contingency plan. They never actually looked at the documents and said, hang on, the United States can pull out of this and we don't even get our money back. So we better think of something else, just in case. No, that never happened. And we got China stooging down your coast, off your coast there, off Sky's coast in the Tasman Sea, doing live fire exercises, which is practicing for a war. Now, why would they practice off Sydney? Now, there's something we should all ponder. Why would you practice off Sydney?
But clearly, Barnaby, you haven't been reading Paul Keating's column in The Australian, because the great man who was Prime Minister 30 years ago says, well, you can't be critical of China. They're not threatening anyone. They're not a military threat to the US or to Taiwan or to Australia. China are really nice people. Why are you being so mean to them?
Because we're not talking about the Chinese people. We're talking about the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, who have incarcerated, we believe, up to 1 million Uyghurs, who have, used slave labour for the construction of the beautiful solar panels, who've taken over the South China Sea, which was never actually theirs, who've had incursions into India, who talk about Inner Mongolia and Outer Mongolia, which means they believe Mongolia is part of China. This is the same China that has basically building their third aircraft carrier, building hypersonics, have now had the biggest navy in the world. Not only the biggest navy, but probably the most technically advanced navy. And Mr. Keating says we've got nothing to worry about. Well, Mr. Keating, if it was the Chinese people, you're dead right. We haven't. But it's a totalitarian regime with a unilateral leader, and what they believe, or he believes, is a sort of, he doesn't believe in God, so a divine purpose, but whatever it is, in a sort of a neutral form. But watch it. I mean, Paul, if you're our defence, maybe we should put you in a rowboat off Sydney for the next live fire exercise, and you can explain to them how they shouldn't be there.
Got to go, but what's the temperature where you are?
It's going to get down to about -3 tomorrow morning. So, it's cold. We're going to get a cracking frost, cover up the windscreens.
Good luck with it all. Thank you, Barnaby.